What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome to my analysis of the new Attuned Peony and Triandra banner that also has Rearmed Sonya, and she is a green infantry mage this time around as well. And because of being a rearmed unit, she does bring the arcane green tone for all of the green mages, and we do see her stats here, but her stats are actually not what it seems because she is getting plus 8 to all of her stats from her slot A skill. So she has got Arcane Caliburnus, which is the arcane green tome, and this gives you minus on special cooldown, and instead of combat, if the HP of the unit is at or above 25%, then you can get plus 5 to all of your stats, the guaranteed follow-up attack, and also get special cooldown charge plus 1 on both your attacks and the enemy's attacks. And then finally, it also neutralizes any kind of foes' bonuses to their attack and resistance. So this is basically the dull attack resistance built in this weapon, and this weapon is going to be nice for many of the slower mages who do lack the guaranteed follow-up attack. And if they want to tank, then the dull attack from this weapon can be really helpful. And getting the special charges is really helpful, especially for the non-infantry green mages, because they don't really have access to the pledge skill. So they can just get the special charges out of this weapon and trigger their high cooldown specials, or even retaliate back with stuff like Iceberg or Bonfire. And we also have Flare on the infantry mages, so they can also make use of this. So overall, it's a pretty decent weapon for many of the green mages. And I'll be making a full video going over the best users of it and the builds that you can run with this weapon, so look forward to that. And it is probably going to be out in a couple of hours from this video. And Blazing Wind is going to be the special that Sonya comes with. Even though this arcane weapon doesn't really incentivize the usage of AoE specials, like not having any kind of true damage or pulsing effect, Sonya is able to function as a really good AoE mage because of her slot A skill. So it is a preferred skill, which I really wish Rearmed Ophelia and Rearmed Gonglot also had. So this gives her plus 8 to all of her stats, and these are the visible stats similar to what you get out of Fury. So this is going to be helping her with the resistance check of the ploy skill, and also with the AoE damage by adding to her visible attack stat. And at start of turn 1, she gets minus 2 special cooldown on herself, and also deals 2 HP damage to herself. So this is the self damage that we've seen before on Brave Lysithea. On Tea Time Lysithea, it is kind of similar to that. And Winter Burnie and Spring Burnie do the chip damage to the other allies as well. So Sonya just does it to herself, and it's kind of reminiscent of Echoes using your HP whenever you use any kind of magic. And after turn 1, she's going to be able to get minus on special cooldown at sort of every turn, and also deal 1 HP damage to herself. And this is really good with her Escape Route 4 because it allows her to warp to any kind of ally in 3 spaces, and also enables Canto 1 on her, which is extremely good for the utility. And then she has got Attack Rest Ploy 3. So only last month we got the tier 4 version of the ploy skills, and we have another one here just to dunk on Legendary and Young Eliwood, and also Legendary Male Robin. So just like Rearmed Plumeria's Defense Rest Ploy, it is going to be working in 3 rows and 3 columns centered on the unit, and you're going to be needing to win the resistance check to trigger the skill, and then you can inflict minus 7 attack and resistance debuff on the foes, the ploy status, which disables bonus doubler, grand strategy, and also treachery, and then you can also inflict the exposure status on the opponents. And Sonya is going to be a really good user of the skill because of her base 45 resistance, and then she can get even more visible resistance out of her slot A skill. And she is also a pretty good user of this arcane weapon because of having really high attack stat at base 47. So she can try and loop her AoE specials with the special charges of her arcane weapon, and also the minus on special cooldown that you're going to be getting on every single turn after turn 1. And because of the self damage that Sonya inflicts on herself, she can actually be pretty helpful in the usage of Aether Raids offense for enabling Ardent Sacrifice and reciprocal aid strategies with Wings of Mercy allies. So similar to Tea Time Lysithea and Brave Lysithea, she's going to be enabling those strats, which can be helpful if you don't really have Spring Burnie or Winter Burnie in your team for those kinds of strats. And you've already seen me use those strats in my Aether Raids offense video, so that is going to be our green arcane tome, and also Rearmed Sonya, who's going to be making amazing use of it. And I'm glad that she comes with a preferred skill. And now we have the only new hero that is going to be in the regular 5-star pool of the game, in Mycen. So Mycen is a Lance Cavalier, and he is mentioned by Alm and Celica even in FEH, so they must be pretty happy that he's finally in the game. And we have got Whirly Lance on him, which is a 16 might preferred weapon, giving him minus on special cooldown. And at start of turn, if he's within 2 spaces of an ally, then he can grant himself and the allies in 2 spaces the plus 6 defense and resistance visible buff, and also the Dull Alt status. So the Dull Alt status is something that we have seen on Veluria's Weapon Refine, on Noah as well. So this is a status effect that is going to be helping you ignore any kind of visible buffs of the opponents, which can be helpful many times for tanking. And we also have Mirabilis with her Whimsical Dream Plus, which is going to be giving this status after her dance. And then if he initiates combat, or if he's within 2 spaces of an ally, then he can inflict -X attack and defense debuff on the foe in the combat. And this X depends on 20% of his visible defense +6. And this can go pretty high depending on his visible defense, which is probably going to be really high. And he's going to be the classic bulky Lance Cavalier that we have seen in Duels and Geralt before. So he's going to be able to debuff the enemy for quite a lot. And then he also gets the guaranteed follow-up attack and also the guard effect on the foe in the combat. So it is going to be helping him defensively. And because he's probably slow, the guaranteed follow-up attack does help. And he does come with Bonfire, Attack Defense Clash 4, and also Joint Close Guard, which they completely forgot about because we got Legendary Micaiah with Joint Distant Guard like 2 years ago, and only now we are seeing the close variant of this skill. So overall, he's a decent Lance Cavalier with a support, and if you really like him, then at least he has got a preferred weapon that can make him stand out a little bit by giving that tell-all effect to himself and all of his allies in 2 spaces. And then we have new type of hero in Attuned Heroes. So we have got Triandra here as a sword flyer. Basically, Attuned Heroes are like Rearmed Heroes, but instead of giving you the arcane weapon, they give you the X slot. So this is going to be another skill slot on your units. Unfortunately, you cannot really equip the X slot skills on the units that have preferred skills. And I'm not talking about preferred weapons, I'm talking about preferred skills like Deep Star, for example, that Wind-Tribe Claude has got. So unfortunately, Legendary Ike with Radiant Ether 2 is not going to be able to make use of the attuned skills, but Lucia on the other hand is able to make use of that because she doesn't really have any kind of exclusive preferred skill. In case of some units, they just have an older preferred skill like Ascended Celica with Soul of Zofia, so she can just let go of that and run Magical on follow-up instead and still have access to the X slot by unequipping her preferred skill. So that's pretty much the Attuned Heroes and the gist of it. And Triandra is going to be bringing a new X slot in her Deathblow Echo. So Deathblow Echo is just Deathblow 2, and that's pretty much it. It is really not too insane. It's a pretty tame skill, and that's how it works in FEH. When we first got the tier 4 slot A skill, it was Deathblow 4. Then we got tier 4 slot B skills, it was Shield Defense Resistance 3, which was pretty tame. And if you look back, then even Rearmed Liv with his Arcane Lutnir was pretty tame compared to many of the other arcane weapons. So it always starts out tame, but then we get the better skills later on. So always keep that in mind. And we have got Flower of Tribute as the 16 Might sword on Triandra, which gives her -1 special cooldown. And the foes in the 3 rows and 3 columns centered on Triandra are going to be having 5 damage dealt to them as their combat begins. So this damage is similar to the damage that you see with Flared Sparrow. So you can actually stack it up with Flared Sparrow and run it on Triandra and do 12 damage before even your first hit. So that is definitely going to be helping Triandra herself and also many of her allies. And then she can also inflict the -5 speed and defense debuff on the foes in their combat in that range. So she's going to be providing that extra damage for many of your units and also debuffing the enemy's speed and defense. And she herself is able to get +5 to all of her stats and also deals true damage based on 20% of her speed. And this is not really going to be applicable for the AoE specials, but still, like, this is mostly a supported weapon. She does have Harrowing Dream as her preferred dance, which is going to be inflicting -5 to all stats and also the guard status and sabotage status on the foes that are in the cardinal direction of herself and the target ally that she's dancing. So this is really good for getting these negative status effects on your enemies. And sabotage status is basically going to be foe penalty doubler, but on the foe. And you can easily run like Rearmed Plumeria to give your own unit foe penalty doubler as well. And this is basically like an advanced dance of Triandra that she already had, and now she can inflict the sabotage status. So it is helpful for providing even more support. And then she does have attack speed clash 4 and the tier 4 version of flow refresh skill. So this upgrade is definitely pretty nice, and it is still going to be only working in the player phase. So you can inflict -4 speed and defense debuff on the foe in the combat and also neutralize any of their follow-up attacks. So essentially half null follow-up. And then you can also reduce the damage from foe's first attack by 40%, which is really good for many of the units. And then you can also restore 10 HP to your unit after the combat. This is a pretty nice skill for many of the flyers and cavaliers who don't really mind taking a hit from the enemy because it's obviously not like Flow Desperation. So if you can take the hit, then you do get the 40% damage reduction and also the healing, and the half now follow-up is definitely helpful. I just hope that we can get some kind of easy flow refresh unit in like maybe Divine Codes 5 or something like that. And then finally we've got Speed Defense Hold, which is going to be stacking up with the debuffs from her weapon. Deathblow Echo is honestly not that impressive. It might be helpful for like full player phase units or units with like brave weapons, but the X skill which Peony has got is a lot better honestly. But Deathblow Echo is something that can go on any kind of unit, whereas the Echo skill that Peony has got can be only given to the infantry and the flying allies. We have another attuned unit in Peony, and we did face her in the Tempest trial, so she didn't really turn out to be an ascended unit or a rearmed unit, and she's an axe flyer. So just like Triandra, she's going to be having access to Soaring Guidance, Guidance 4, all of that. And they did showcase the Echo skill or the X skill that she has got. So at start of turn, if a unit is within 2 spaces of an ally, then they can get +6 attack buff and also the Order status. So we have seen this before on the Oath skills, but it is just the attack Oath that you're going to be having access to on your flyers and on your infantry units. You can only give this skill to your armor units and make them warp. That's not how it works. They're still going to be having the movement type and the weapon type restrictions with these X slot skills. So this is definitely a better X skill than Triandra, and having the attack buff and especially the Order status from X slot is going to be freeing up your slotty skills, where you can run some other skills like Time Pulse or Infantry Pulse or even the Pledge skills that we have now. And a big winner of Attack Oath Echo is definitely going to be Citrine, who can spread the Order status and also the Special Charges status if she runs Attack Speed Pledge in her slot C. So it can definitely help her support capabilities and let her give out even more status effects, which is going to be helpful especially if you're going to be running a unit with something like a Prime skill. And the weapon that Peony has got is Flower of Caring. We did see this before in the Tempest trial. It is pretty much the same. So she has got -1 special cooldown, and for the allies that are going to be in the cardinal direction of Peony, they're going to be able to get +5 attack and speed in combat, and they can also heal up 5 HP after their combat. So it's pretty helpful for many of the tanks to get this kind of healing and also get the extra offenses. And even on the offensive units, they're still going to be appreciating the extra offenses, and you can easily stack this up with the other post-combat healing that maybe your weapon gives. So having more healing is going to be helpful, and she herself gets +5 to all of her stats in the combat, and also reduces the damage from foes' first attack by 40%, and she also heals up 5 HP after her combat. So it is going to be good for her self-sustain, and if any kind of ally is going to be in her cardinal direction, then she's going to be able to get extra +4 to all of her stats. So she can essentially get +9 to all of her stats, which is going to be pretty nice. And she does have Tender Dream as her exclusive dance skill, so it is going to be working similarly to Gentle Dream, where she can buff up her target ally and any kind of ally in the cardinal direction of herself and the target ally for +4 to all of their stats as a visible buff, and also provides them with the Order status. And also now she provides Canto 1. So Canto 1 here is going to be the fixed Canto status that we have seen before from Legendary Eliwood, for example, or Flame Tribe Tana. So this is going to be helpful for many of the units who don't really have access to Canto skills, or they don't really want to run a Neotrace or a Fortrace skill, and they can just get Canto 1 from Peony support. And she's got Attack Speed Unity and also Rock Slide Dance 3. So we did see Firestorm Dance 3 a couple of months back on Spring Triandra, and now this Rock Slide Dance is going to be providing the target ally +6 defense and speed, and also the dot status. And it also enables Canto 1 for the dancer itself. So Peony is going to be able to retreat after dancing someone, and outsourcing this kind of dot status is going to be nice, as you can stack up even more damage reduction and give this to units who would only have easy access to dot skills. But unfortunately, the only dancer in the game with Rock Slide Dance 2 as the prerequisite is Dancer Valencia, who came out in 2017, and she is present in Divine Codes 1, but still, I kinda wish that they gave these dance skills to the demote dancers beforehand. And if you want to fodder her for all of the premium skills, then you're going to be needing Dancer Valencia, or waiting until we get another dancer with Rock Slide Dance 2 in the Grail pool or in the regular pool. So that's definitely quite annoying. And then she has got Cross Spur Speed as her slotty skill. I definitely expected like Guidance 4 on her, because she did have Guidance in the Tempest trial, but Cross Spur Speed I guess is going to be nice with the support, and it does double down on the cardinal support with her weapon, so it is going to be helpful on many of the horizontal and vertical maps, especially in Aether Raids. And we already knew her stats, and it is same as before, and they were even shown in this trailer itself. So yeah, this is going to be the new type of hero that we're going to be getting. And the Grandra Battleina that we're going to be getting is going to be Marla, who is the oldest sister of Sonya and also Hestia. So Marla is going to be our Grandra Battleina, and she appears to be a red infantry mage. And this Deer Tome is something that we have seen before on Bastion. So it gives you +5 attack and inflicts -5 attack and guard effect on the foe in the combat. So it's a decent weapon, but certainly not an arcane weapon. We don't really know her skills yet, but she's probably going to be a high attack, high resistance, standard Grandeur Battle unit who is going to be liking Arcane Eclipse if you do have an extra Rearmed Ophelia and if you really want to build her. And we're going to be getting Hestia as the free 5-star quest reward and also as an instant emote. So she's the middle sister of Marla and Sonya, and she also has the Deer Tome but the blue version. And we do know her skills already with Iceberg, Attack Resistance Ideal 3, and also Res Ploy 3. So yeah, not really that insane of these skills or even as a unit. And they are going to be needing the Arcane Tomes at high investment. We're going to be getting this banner tomorrow, and if you read the fine print, then they do mention that attuned units like Triandra and Peony are not going to be part of the regular 5-star pool, so you can only get pity broken by them, and you have to summon for them whenever they rerun, just like Rearmed units. And that's why I compared them to the Rearmed units, because they can also duplicate the skills just like them, but they don't really have the arcane weapon. Instead, they have the X skill, and they do actually demonstrate the attuned units in the action briefly in the trailer. So attuned units can carry these special attuned skills, and you can inherit the attuned skills and the other skills at the same time. So it kind of sucks that we only have 4 inherits, because Sharina here is not even able to get the Unity skill along with the Oath Echo skills. And I really hope they increase the number of inheritable skills from 4 to 5. Because at this point, it's kind of overdue with the amount of skills that we get, and also the tier 4 versions, and now with the Echo skills as well. So yeah, Sharina is basically going to be able to make use of this, even though she does have her preferred weapon. Like I said, this does work with preferred weapons, but it doesn't really work with preferred skills. And just like Rearmed units, they are not going to be leaving your barracks after you use their inheritance, and they're calling this Elite Inheritance. We have the Arcane Inheritance and now this Elite Inheritance. So you can just equip the attuned skill. So yeah, I'm definitely pretty mixed on this, because I'm fine with this as long as they keep the skills tame. But I'm kind of not sure if that's gonna be happening, because if they release like really good skills like maybe Vantage, Distant Counter, and even a skill like Pass is gonna be meta influential, because it is gonna be enabling you to completely bypass the warping blocking that Gatekeeper and Legendary Merc can do. So it really depends on how well they balance and distribute these skills, because these skills are still going to be having the restrictions. As we can clearly see, you can only give this kind of Oath Echo skill to an armor unit or cavalry unit. So it is going to be depending on that movement type as well. And I just hope that they can, stay tame with these kinds of skills, because this is another piece of the puzzle that you need to complete a unit, quote unquote, essentially. And honestly, this seems like an unnecessary thing that they had to introduce, because last year I think that Rearmed units were such a good new hero type that could revitalize the favorites of people, but this kind of attuned heroes and the X skill is going to be helping your older units, but it can still be run on the newer units as long as they don't have any kind of preferred skills. So you can just run it on Halloween Tamara or like Halloween Anna and Lucia, like I mentioned before, but Legendary Ike with his Radiant Ether 2 can only use it. So I really wonder where they will take the direction of the design of the game. If they're going to be, giving these units no preferred skills so that they can incentivize you to pull for these attuned units, or they're going to be doing things with stuff like Wind Tribe Claude or, Wind Tribe Dagger and giving them these really good preferred skills so that you have to choose between either the X skill or the preferred skill. And in most cases, you're going to be wanting that preferred skill. So it is to be seen how influential these X skills and these attuned heroes will be, because right now, just like most things in FEH, the start of any kind of new thing is going to be pretty tame, but then it is going to be picking up the speed, and I'm just bracing for that. I really hope that they think twice about making some of the broken skills as an X skill, because it is not something like Sacred Seal that everyone is going to be having access to. You will have to pull for these units to have the X slot, and it's not even like they are going to be unlocking the X slot. You will need the specific attuned unit for that specific X slot skill. So it's a pretty contentious new type of unit compared to last year's Rearmed units, which were really well received and were such a breath of fresh air with the design of this game. But I think this year they definitely dropped the ball with these attuned units. And especially like these new heroes banners are supposed to have units that they stay in the 5-star pool, but they are pretty much seasonal banners at this point. Like 3 units from this banner are not going to be in the 5-star pool. They're just going to be like semi-seasonal units at this point that are going to be rerun on certain banners. So yeah, that's pretty much the video. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. And I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, then make sure to leave a like and a comment. Helps me tremendously. And if you really enjoyed, you could always support me directly by using super thanks down below or by becoming a YouTube member. And for more FEH videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as Deathblow Echo, giving you plus for attack in 2023. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.